Child of Light. It's a side-scrolling RPG that was developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. Came out way back in April of 2014. And around this time, this is the early days of microtransaction, but interesting because they had some other indie games too, like Valiant Hearts with another studio. With this one, there was some influence you can kind of tell from Cirque du Soleil, but it's going in a fable, fairy tale type of direction. You have things like gnomes, giants, anthropomorphized animals into humans, like with the mice here, instead of like high epic fantasy, like elves and dwarves that you'd see in something like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. It is available on everything, including the PlayStation Vita, except Mac, iOS, and Android devices. Being a fairy tale, it is a fictional story, but the location where it takes place and the events surrounding it did actually happen in a different way. They changed it around. And the continent of Lemuria, where the game takes place in, is this continent that is believed to have existed in the Indian Ocean, kind of like Atlantis off the coast of Europe. What happens, though, you play as Aurora, this princess, and she falls into a mysterious illness and dies. You awake in Lemuria, shortly after meet Igniculus, a little beam of light, which is oddly the same name as a companion in Final Fantasy XV, and set out to find out what is going on. The story dialogue also has this fairy tale aspect. Each verse will rhyme with another when you are talking with the various companions later in the game that you recruit. It's a 2D side-scroller along with being an RPG. When you're in the 2D side-scrolling, you have the beams of light that you can collect. If you look at her HP MP on the top left corner here, you can actually heal her and her magic points. You collect chests, doing things very slightly, and you can blind enemies so that when you attack them, you can surprise attack them. Otherwise, you can get ambushed if you accidentally run into them. Once you are in combat, you have this active time battle system. You have a maximum of 2 characters for you and 3 for the enemy, but you're able to switch characters in and out. In the bottom middle there, you see the time, how long it takes to wait and cast, whether you're doing a physical attack or a spell. Now, how this works is when enemies are in the cast, or if you are attacked, you get bumped back. The focus is on interrupting enemies' attacks when they're in the casting space and not having yours interrupted. So you're timing where your character is set, and you're really paying attention to the speed of each of them. As you're doing this, you're swapping characters in and out without penalty, provided they're not dead. So there's the art of balancing those things at the same time for an RPG. Besides that, you have the usual stuff. You have a rock, paper, scissors with thunder, fire, and earth for the spells, and they all have different things to speed up, kind of slow down each of them. After a match, all the characters level up. You can use items to heal them individually, but there's no place to sleep or save. This is done automatically. All of them together as a group. So even though you have a limited roster, you got to remember that you have them all kind of together because you can switch them in and out. It has a weird upgrade tech tree, but it works fine. The focus is on certain spells that you want to focus on for a character over others. As your character upgrades, it gets so many skill points, and then you can put these to certain abilities. You kind of look ahead to see what there is. It'd be easier if it was just straight lines rather than this thing twisting all over the place. Equipment upgrade is done all the same with all the characters with these stones called oculi that you can use for fire damage to speed up your character or have various resistances like physical attacks or magic. And it's the same for all of them. The last aspect with the platforming part is you sometimes have these puzzles. You'll use Igniculus to light something up so you can progress through the game. These don't come up too often, and they're not very, really that difficult. Along with the platforming in general, it's not that challenging. Like with a lot of other RPGs, there is a new game plus mode where you keep all of your oculi and skill upgrades. The game itself has a casual or expert difficulty. I recommend doing expert, definitely. Casual's way too easy. What this does is it bumps up the difficulty of the enemies that you fight, but unfortunately, it's just too easy going back in. There is DLC, and I would ignore all of it, especially the oculi, which is the extra stones pack. The character, though, the golem, is locked behind a $3 DLC. All it adds, though, is the character. You're not getting anything more with the story. But if you want that one extra character, then you're out 3 bones to get it. Otherwise, I would ignore everything else. I recommend the game. It is strong just in all aspects. It is shorter, being this indie type of RPG. You're looking at 12 to 20 hours for $15. And this isn't on Game Pass or GameFly. It's just buying it outright. But just all of the aspects, the art style, like Chiltern even drew Aurora to give her that childlike feel, the fairy wings, she flies around, the platforming aspect, and then the setting, the fable fairy tale, makes it more unique, sets it apart from other fantasy type of games, to the combat system that it's easier for people that aren't into RPGs or they haven't played something, looking for something new. You know, here you go, definitely. If you like this video, please give a like, subscribe if you really liked it, and I will see you next time.